AMD has just released the fastest gaming CPU ever. The Ryzen 9 7950X3D is a new 16-core $700 CPU that has put AMD back on top. However, the cheaper Intel 13900K is not too far behind the 7950X3D, even beating it in certain benchmarks. And there's also the good old 5800X3D that still manages to keep up very well in gaming, and it's on the cheaper older platform. Speaking of cheap, you just want a free subscription to this channel, so you should definitely follow for more. But if you want the best of the best, the 7950X3D delivers insane performance and on the newer platform that you'll be able to upgrade in the future. Not to mention that you'll probably be able to sell this chip pretty easily in a few years since it's the top performer for this generation. So many gamers might consider it upgrading from something like a 5600X. Oh wow, who would have thought the X3D chips are gonna destroy everything else? Well, everybody pretty much saw this coming, although I think we were expecting a little bit more performance, but nonetheless, these chips are blazing fast and they do, again, just destroy everything else in terms of performance. So the 7950X3D is about 10% faster than the 13900KS, so that is the little bit faster version of the K chip, at least in 1080p gaming benchmarks. And I mean, look at the 5800X3D, just basically 14% slower than this new chip. Like, that chip is still a really good performance. So anybody that bought that back in the day, I mean, you just got a fantastic deal, and that chip is still going to be insanely good for quite a few years. But yeah, here we have a few graphs, so I'm just slowly gonna scroll for them, so feel free to freeze the screen or go to tomshardware.com. They have these graphs over there, and at the bottom here we have a few other games on a little bit of a bigger scale for this video, so it's a little bit more visible. So yeah, the 7950X3D, it doesn't destroy Intel in everything. Certain benchmarks, certain games, they're pretty similar. Sometimes Intel is even a little bit faster, but generally it is about 10% faster than the Intel chip, so that's very good because we are just getting innovation. Intel is going to come back with their 14th gen, and they're gonna try to take the crown back from AMD, and the competition is very exciting. Now, this is still a very expensive chip because you also probably are going to be putting about 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM on it, because it's just this monstrous 16 core for just doing heavy workloads and stuff like that. And if you don't need 64 gigs of RAM, then you'll probably want to go for the lower core count versions of the X3D chips, so the 7900X3D, the 8-core version, and so on. But yeah, I mean, as we saw, if you're tight on cash, the freaking 5800X3D at this point, I mean, it's cheap, it's an 8-core, it's on the older platform with DDR4. Like, this thing is still going to be pretty insane for the next few years. So if you have the money, yes, these new chips are insane and really great, but they also cost a lot of money. If you wait a few months, of course, these should come down in prices somewhat, but at the same time, sure, it's $700 right now. It would have been great if it was 600, but at the end of the day, if you're gonna buy this CPU and use it for like 6 years, you're probably really not gonna care about getting like a $100 discount. So they're pretty great. If anybody has the money, they are a great deal. But there are also better value products on the market that, you know, they're not as shiny because they're not as new, but hey, they're just a fantastic value.